Hi all, and welcome to my ninth lecture on Austrian School of Economics. The topic of today is trade. The reference book is always Principles of Economics of Safedin Amos. So let's start with the importance of trades, and with a quote from Ludwig von Mises. The fundamental fact that brought about cooperation, society, and civilization and transformed the animal man into a human being are the facts that work performed under division of labor is more productive than isolated work, and that man's reason is capable of recognizing the truth. Humans are social animals, born into a family and extended social order. They spend their lives interacting with others. The most economically notable way in which people can interact is through trade or free exchange. When dealing with others, the individual is confronted with another will, one with its own desires, preference, ends, and actions. Exchange implies the ability of two individuals to use their reason to arrive at an arrangement that benefits them both and hurts neither of them. The other alternative is coercion, where the reward will always be lower than when using cooperation. An example, in fact, is in Robinson Crusoe's story, where Robinson meets Friday. He could try to enforce his will on Friday, risking a confrontation and a defeat. But even if Robinson wins the confrontation, he will own Friday's possession and slave labor, but he will never be able to secure Friday's enthusiastic cooperation to work productively. If two men decide to cooperate with each other, they will likely both be much better off in the long run. Only by understanding subjective valuation, the concept of trade becomes possible. If values were objective, what would people gain from engaging in trade? Why would they want to exchange something for something else when they both value both goods equally? Marginal utilities of exchanged goods must increase for both parties. Each party gains higher satisfaction from the thing they acquire than from the thing they give up. People are able to exchange objects and one another because they place different valuation on the same object. Valuation is subjective, as we have learned in the previous chapter, and made at the margin. Therefore, individuals will find opportunities for trade by exchanging the goods they have a lot for the goods they have only a few of it. One common misconception in economics involves confusing value and price. If a person pays $10 for a good, she is not valuing it $10, but more than $10 because she gives up $10 in exchange for the good, while the seller values the good less than $10. We can go on with the absolute and comparative advantage of trades. So, trades arises from difference in the subjective valuation of final goods, but is also an expression of differences in the cost of producing different goods. This is another very important topic. According to the absolute advantage, by specializing in the production of the cheaper good, the two parties produce more good A and B than if they had split their time and effort between producing both. According to the comparative advantage, cooperation is beneficial to both parties, even if one is more productive at generating both goods, because their cooperation allows them to dedicate the scarce time where it is most productive. And the fact that the two men have a different opportunity cost for the two goods means that they can improve the quantity they produce by each spending more time producing the good for which they have lower opportunity cost. Because each person spends his time producing the good with a lower opportunity cost, they produce more of the final products they both want. And the reason is also because time is scarce. So no matter the difference in productivity between the two parties, the difference in opportunity cost means that trading will change the allocation of labor between them to create more increased output. And the difference in preferences and productivity are the drivers for universally pervasive phenomenon of trade. Whereas in isolation, man produces what he needs, in a social system, man produces based on what he expects others to need. By specializing in producing a good for a market rather than producing for your own consumption, it becomes possible to dedicate labor towards the place where it's most productive, not where it's merely necessary. In the modern economy, the driver of specialization is largely the investment of capital in an industry, and we had one full lecture on capital. The more sophisticated the economy and the longer the production structures, the more comparative advantage is the result of difference in capital accumulation, and the less the results of natural factors. And now let's discuss about the extent of the market. Increasing the extent of the market, what does it? Not only increases the productivity of workers, but is also increasing the number and variety of goods available to members of society. As the number of people in the market increases and the productivity of individual producers increases, each producer is able to produce from each good enough to cover the needs of an increasing number of people. This effectively frees up workers to pursue production of newer, innovative goods which go beyond basic needs. As the circle within which a person's trade grows, the productivity and quantity of available goods increase. This explains why people move from rural areas to cities. In an isolated place, he will be responsible for a whole production process of a good, while in a city he can specialize in whichever of the stage of production he finds himself most skillful. In a world divided into isolated economies of 1,000 people each, there can be no cars, computers, or smartphones. The 1,000 people will be preoccupied with producing their basic survival needs. As the extent of the market grows, the rewards from specialization increase, because its products can be sold to a larger group of people. The technologically advanced products we use today will simply not be possible in a world with 1% of the current population, or a world of small markets isolated from one another. The best market with which an individual can trade is the largest market possible, the entire world. Citizens of the open economies can be far more productive because they can engage in production processes that sell to the entire planet, generating more revenues and allowing for more investment in lengthening the production process and increasing its sophistication. Economics, as a field of study, attempts to explain the universal. Now we go to the conclusion, saying economics, as a field of study, attempts to explain the universal pervasiveness to trade. It is no wonder that humans are constantly attempting to engage in trade with one another, and trade encourages humans to moderate their aggressive and hostile instincts towards others and seek productive cooperation instead. The ability of strangers who are not connected by bonds or family or kinship to arrive at a mutually beneficial exchange is one of the basic building blocks of human civilization. The extent to which strangers can expect to deal peacefully with one another, respecting each other's bodies, property, and will, is the extent to which they live in a civilized society. And with that, this lecture is finished, and see you next week in the next lecture that will be about money. Bye.